Alright, friends, continuing with the chapter, let's talk about public policy and political environments. Regulatory compliance are systems or departments in an organization whose job is to make sure that personnel are aware of and take steps to comply with relevant laws, standards, policies, and regulations. So, we have a lot of regulatory compliance. The regulatory bodies assigned to detect any kind of fraudulent activities on the electronic commerce websites are in place in the cyber business environment to make sure that the relevant laws, standards, policies, and regulations are being followed. You need to be you need to understand what these policies are, and you need to make sure that you comply with them. Wherever country you're operating in has a set of rules and policies and standards. Make sure that you have access to all that information. And nowadays, with the e-government everywhere, government organizations making sure that their information is electronically available and is transparent, you have absolutely no excuse for not being well informed. Other great idea is to have an attorney who is well versed with the local laws, business laws, and make sure that you always get your business practices evaluated by this attorney. International compliance in the United States. Okay, there are a lot of international compliance issues, and because tariffs and political barriers in one country are practically non-existent in another country. So just when you are trying to open up a business in a certain locality, the first thing that you take a look at is the political provisions available, political hindrances that may affect your business. And of course the target population is important, but the most important thing is the locality or the region and the governance that provides for that region. What kind of laws are available for you, and what kind of pitchbacks you might feel if you are running a business in that area. Compliance data pertaining to the enterprise included in the law that can be used for the purpose of implementing or validating compliance. Compliance data is something that the regulatory bodies, they use to evaluate a set of criteria against a set of criteria and make sure that you are okay or give you the green light. Equal opportunity and discrimination. What kind of opportunities do local or expats have in a particular region? So you need to be able to understand whether the locality where you are planning to run your business has an equal opportunity, or does it provide discrimination? Like sometimes the local population has more rights and has more has more advantages over the expats. And sometimes you need to get to know if partnering with a local is a better idea than doing a business alone. Digital divide, the gap that has emerged between those who have and those who do not have the ability to use the technology. Definitely look into the kind of digital divide available in a locality. For example, in Africa, many people are still, they're catching up, but they're still struggling. Asia as well, Asia and Africa, many people are still struggling to catch up with the use of mobile phones. BlackBerry and Android is still common in there. So what you need to do is just make sure that Android and whatever applications or whatever programs you're developing are widely accessible to the target population of that area. If you are planning to conduct a business in Africa, just make sure that the applications or devices that they use, your software is able to run on them. Overcoming the digital divide, that's one of the best ways to overcome the digital divide is to conduct your market survey, your research, what kind of habits, what kind of behavior, what kind of consumption patterns the target population has in that area. All of these things come into play and are very, very critical in making strategic decisions, whereas when you are planning to plant a new business in a new area. Telecommuting, working at home using a PC and the internet. Now, telecommuting does not sound very foreign, or does not sound very difficult to implement. But the fact is that many businesses and organizations up to this date in 2016 still prefer employees to come to work. They do not want them to log in at their workstations from home and work from home. So there is still a traditional preference in a country. So you need to check into that as well. For example, United States and United Kingdom, it is very common for people to be able to log in from their homes and access the server, their work servers, and begin working. But in other countries, like even in UAE where I live, it is very rare to find a business that conducts completely from home and does not prefer or has flexible options available for employees. So you need to be sure that you are conducting a business that is, if you need people to work from home, or any kind of flexible options available, what is the business norm of that area? That's what you need to make sure. Green computing is the study and practice of eco-friendly computing resources, and is now a key concern of businesses in all industries, not just environmental organizations. So green computing is something that it's no longer an option to give back to the community. You can no longer brag by saying that I'm a green computing organization, which means that we have cut down our paper usage and we use online and electronic means for communication, and many other ways that you cut down. And of course, your business processes, for example, your factory, if you have a factory, what kind of emissions it has, and what kind of switchovers have you made to make sure that you are more kinder to the planet, or your carbon footprint is smaller. This is no longer an option. This is no longer a bragging point. This is something that is a business value that needs to be practiced as a part of daily business processes. So you cannot just think that you're giving back to the community by being kind to the environment. No way. Nowadays, what businesses do is they invest in warfare and war infected areas of families, and many other donation areas that they invest in. But green computing is something that has to be adapted very early on in the business. Green IT begins with the manufacturers producing environmentally friendly products and encouraging IT departments to consider more friendly options like virtualization, power management, and proper recycling habits. So these habits need to start from the very beginning. Wherever you plan to open up a business now, okay, even if you have an e-commerce environment, even if you have an e-commerce back end and a front end and a completely pleasurable user experience and user interface and mobile application presence as well, but you would still have some kind of a physical presence. You would have an office, you would have employees running all that website, you would also have a warehouse and many other things that will promote or add to your business. That will help. It's like the infrastructure, the backbone of the business has to be physical. It is going to be physical. So what kind of recycling habits, what kind of green IT habits do you have in place for those areas, for the physical aspects of your e-commerce? How to operate greener businesses, data centers and supply chains, global green regulations. Okay, one of the main things about data centers, if you know what data centers is data center is a place where you have a large volume of servers connected together to create a storage hub or to create a processing hub, or for many reasons. And what happens is that these areas, these physical locations tend to get very heated up. And the question here is the green environment concern here is the usage of a lot of air conditioning devices to keep the temperature down of these servers. Otherwise, at high temperatures, they would not be able to function. So what we need to do is, what kind of cooling, just an example of green IT solutions, what kind of cooling devices you're using, how economic, how environmentally economic they are. And there are many techniques nowadays available for to reduce the use of fossil fuels in your air conditioning devices, and use alternative cooling methods, like cooling water passing through air conditioners. And there are many options available. Businesses are very keen on green computing, and you should be aware of these methods and these strategies to protect yourself. You might not be breaking the law, but nowadays everybody is so much into the greener planet that just because you are not conforming to where everybody's headed might be something, might be a negative point for you, and people might not prefer to do business with you. So just to make sure that you comply with the norm of the society where you're living in, try to adapt, try to research what kind of green business practices are happening around you, and try to adopt them. Electronic Product Environmental Assessment Tool, EPEAT, again, it's a searchable database of computer hardware that meets a strict set of environmental criteria. So what kind of environmental criteria do you have? And what kind of safety measures do you have? Whether the business that you're running is safe or not, all of these criteria are evaluated using this database. Other societal issues like education, public safety, criminal justice, homeland security, health aspects have to be looked into when you are doing a market research of a new area, of a new region that you are unfamiliar with. You need to get in touch with the local community, local attorney, local business advisors, and try to find out any kind of consultants that can help you, practice a safer business prospect. You need to look into the education level of your target consumers, how educated, how digitally literate they are, and what kind of devices are common, what kind of applications are common, what kind of social media and browser, even the browser apps, all operating systems, what kind of devices. All of these things have to be considered before you begin an electronic commerce venture in that area. Main reason being, you need to make sure that whatever you're proposing is something that's being expected by the consumer. Public safety, criminal justice, and homeland security, all of these come into play. Health aspects, all of these come into play. You need to find out if there's an epidemic, if there is a problem, if there is, all of those health issues. You need to consider all of these. You never know what kind of business practice might counterfeit or become antagonistic to the current health issues of that area. So you need to have a complete research coverage before you propose a business plan in that area. Alright, we are approaching the end of the chapter, and the managerial issues. If you have your own business, for example, I have my scrumptious indulgence. Now, when I think from the perspective of my own business, what legal and ethical issues should be of major concern to an electronic commerce enterprise? Health issues are there, and many issues in the cake industry. I'm going to talk about that when I talk about put your learning to practice, and I'm going to show you what kind of research I'm conducting online. I'm going to research online, and I'm going to have you see how I'm researching and what kind of search criteria I'm inputting, just to make sure that there are any legal issues related to the cake business. What are the most critical ethical issues? How can intellectual property rights be protected when it comes to digital content? How can patent costs be monitored effectively? What is the ethical principle of protecting the privacy of your customers? Okay, before that, this one, number 4, how can patent costs be monitored effectively? Supposing I have the secret recipe, a secret ingredient that makes my cake a success, I need to protect the recipe, and it becomes a patent, and the patent needs to be protected. Now, there are several business providers, several copyright and patent business patent protection business providers available. I did show you a couple in this video, the video before this, but in Put Your Learning to Practice, I'm going to be covering that even more. What is the ethical principle of protecting the privacy of your customers? Okay, what is more important? Sometimes, privacy concerns in one area are not very high in another area, so you need to make sure that your privacy concerns are, viable. How can a company create opportunities in the global trend towards green electronic commerce? So how can you create an opportunity? Okay, so what kind of opportunities are available in the green global green electronic commerce environment? We're going to discuss that in the light of scrumptious indulgence in the next video, Put Your Learning to Practice. So if I summarize my points here, I need to understand legal and ethical challenges on how to contain them. I need to understand the intellectual property law completely before I conduct an electronic commerce business. I need to understand the privacy, free speech, defamation, and their challenges here in the area that I'm planning to practice my business. Fraud on the internet and how to protect consumers against it. Technology is advancing at crazy speeds every day, every minute, every second. And for each problems, there is always a solution over the internet. And while I don't expect any electronic commerce business provider to understand the technical details of hacking and other security issues, but you should be familiar with the layman terms, with the in layman language. You should be familiar with what's happening, what's hot, and how you need to attack it. Protection of buyers and sellers. How you can protect buyers and sellers. Societal impacts of electronic commerce, if any, in your region. And green electronic commerce, how you can implement it as far as scrumptious indulgence is concerned. All right, with this I am going to end my chapter, and this concludes my entire course with you. Chapter 10, Ethical and Legal Issues in Electronic Commerce, and I am going to devote 2 more videos for put your learning to practice. And in the first video, I'm going to apply what I've learned here in scrumptious indulgence, show you how I'm going to do my research. And in the following video, I am going to summarize the entire course in the form of a business plan and touch on important topics all over again. All right, then I'll see you. Stay tuned.